We haven't heard from her in a while. Okay.
Oh, she's just a good person, just an outstanding,
yeah.
excellent person.
All right, now I'm
That's if
sharing.
that's if we get strapped for material.
In other
And
words,
by the
have it
way,
ready to go.
I, I watched the end of that Monday Night Football game. I thought that was the right call to go for a touchdown.
Well, you go for a win on the road and a tie at home. Isn't that the tired, stupid thing which somebody came up with 100 years ago that nobody can exactly say why?
Whatever happened to live to fight another day and tie the fucking game? Whatever happened to that?
Seems not smart in retrospect, that's for sure.
But when you've got as many Super Bowl rings as the Buffalo Bills do,
there we go with that.
You got a lot of shit to play with there.
Yeah, well, Mike Golick said he'd rather go and not win than not go at all, because those are your two choices. All right, I'm all shared up.
All right, here we are. Howdy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me make my thing bigger. My screen.
Wait, what?
People, there you go.
Do you have Roman or Four Hymns as a sponsor on here?
Everything is that. Everything is the equivalent of that's what she said with you, right? Everything. All right.
Yep.
Here we go. It is our second, count them two Brad and Britt cast this week, which will be under our belts when we're done today. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching us on one of the many platforms, you may see under my face that it says "Catching COVID is cool," says blank.
Who says
and
that?
Your guess was who?
Joe Rogan. I would say Joe Rogan.
You're wrong.
Oh,
This is, you ready? Here we go. We have some sound, and this is from Channel 9 in Denver, Colorado. Here we go.
A nationally known conservative radio host has announced that he intentionally contracted COVID-19 days after he came to Colorado for an event for Republican Heidi Ganahl's campaign for governor. Dennis Prager came to Colorado a week ago Sunday, October 10th, for this event with Ganahl. He said today on the radio that he tested positive for COVID last Wednesday. Prager described how he has been trying to catch COVID to get natural immunity.
Engaged with strangers, constantly hugging them, taking photos with them, knowing that I was making myself very susceptible to getting COVID.
Prostitutes.
Which is indeed, as bizarre as it sounded, what I wanted, in the hope that I would achieve natural immunity and be taken care of by therapeutics.
A Ganahl spokesperson said they had no idea that Prager had COVID-19 until he announced it on the radio today. The Ganahl campaign said it would notify everyone who was there.
So when the guy said today, that means yesterday. So this is a new story. And by the way,
do you believe Dennis Prager when he says that? Do you think that's what he really did?
Well, I invite you to Google his name right now and look at all the stories about it.
No.
Because again, it's stupider. It's stupider than you even thought. All right, it's beyond anything. Because remember, how many basketball players are on each team on the court at any time? 5, right?
Five aside.
We have had 5 right-wing talk show hosts die this year so far.
Yeah.
Of COVID.
He's not a young man. He's not a young man at all.
He's 73. He's 73.
So he would be susceptible, and he'd be one of those guys who would be pretty easily dying if he got it.
Well, no, but Prager is so off the charts in the tank for Trump.
Yeah.
And you got to put that in your back pocket before COVID even exists to to think about the base of insanity this guy carries along with him. And he is a kind of an evangelical off the charts Jew. Okay. He couches a lot of his shit in Judaism.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff.
Thanks a lot. No thanks. We don't need you, Prager.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I've never considered him to be a dumb guy until now.
He's not.
Now I consider him to be an idiot.
Yeah. Are you looking at anything yet? Have you seen some shit come up there yet? Huh?
I was going to let you guide me into it. Let me look at the stories here as we look at this. Conservative radio host tests positive. He announces he has COVID after hugging thousands. This is a great way of saying I just slept with random women and I got it. That's what I think. That's essentially what he's saying.
Well, I was gonna stop the clip in the middle, and say, oh, wait a minute. He acts as if it's difficult to catch COVID. That it's been all this time up until now that he had to attend an event over the weekend and start hanging out with people to catch COVID, right? So just the initial premise is so nuts. And you can read these stories and they'll say, oh, I'm taking ivermectin and he's all in. He is all in, and he was all in with Trump at the beginning of the coronavirus epidemic. It's a fake. It's not this. And when it gets to 20,000, then I'll take it serious. When it gets to 40,000 deaths, and of course he stopped talking about that number, which seemed impossible at the very beginning, right? It seemed an unreachable number. And by the way, again, you're saying he's an intelligent person. I'm going to include you along with me. You're not that intelligent, and neither am I. But I think we recognized early on that not only should you not follow Donald Trump and vote for him for president, but you might not want to pay attention to what he is saying about the coronavirus, okay? And for this guy Prager, at this stage of his life, to think that he can be a combination of Clint Eastwood, John Wayne, Vin Diesel, name the all-time tough guys, and prove everyone wrong, and to what end? And of course, you should ask Prager, all right, so what other medical advice do you ignore? I always like that question to people who think that they somehow, through their own intuition or their own belief system in a God beyond their own, aka Donald Trump and the anti-vaxxer community. What else do you not pay attention to medically? Because Dennis, I'm sure he's not one of these guys that I never went to a doctor for 50 years kind of people. He's not.
He says, He says, I have received monoclonal antibodies. That's Regeneron. I have a course for a year and a half, not years, been taking hydroxychloroquine from the beginning. That tells you that he's drinking the Kool-Aid, Brad, with zinc. I've taken Z-Pak as the Zelenko protocol would have it. I have no idea what the Zelenko protocol, but it sounds like some bullshit that was peddled by the anti-vaxxers. I have taken ivermectin. Prager said
that was one of those movies. I thought that was one of those movies directed. It was a Marvel.
The Zelenko
movie,
protocol. Yeah, it sounds like one of those deals. That's funny. Well, speaking of right-wing radio assholes, let's just glide into this one. Dan Bongino, who was the guy who originally made a bid for the Rush Limbaugh spot.
Love this.
Dan Bongino works. He's syndicated by a company called Westwood One, and Westwood One is mandating vaccines. He makes the threat on the air. It's me or that, pal. You either get rid of me or you pull back on your vaccine mandate. Dan Bongino throwing down the gauntlet, giving the old tomato to Westwood One.
Who owns Westwood One? Is that a Cumulus?
Cumulus, I believe. Cumulus is the owner of that company.
Okay, right. So they're the company that we talked about last week that had the several people across the country already quit, including that woman in Detroit who I insulted on Facebook.
Roxanne Steele or something. Wasn't that her name?
Right. Britt, I was going to say that I had a second crazy ass right-wing talk show host radio story, and I do, but it's not that one. So it isn't just 2 for Tuesday.
Oh,
we get a threefer here. We have a guy, and I know you've never heard of this guy, and you've never heard of this network. It's called the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, and the guy's name is Daryl Neely. And apparently they got video of him at the Capitol, in the riot, in the insurrection, who stole a baseball cap worn by one of the police officers, and he wore it, and he live streamed it that day. Mm-hmm. So they got him. The papers were released yesterday that say this is what happened. He was bragging that he stole other shit from police officers. And by the way, again, I have to be fair about this, because that doesn't prove anything. Because, Britt, how many times have we been traveling, say, for our radio station? We've been out of town. What's the first thing we do? We look for a cop, and we fuck with them, and we steal their shit
every time.
And then we broadcast every time.
Philly, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston. That was what we did. It was our brand, really. Yep. There's the story. But all we know is that the guy's baseball cap ended up on his head. We don't know how that happened. That's all we know, Judge. That's all I know.
All right, so that's three. That's excellent. I think we really, if we had a fourth hitter, we'd get through the first inning and a cleanup hitter to bring everybody home. But we'll go with three in the same category there.
But going back to this Bongino thing, almost sounds like a shock job. I dare you. Yeah. I dare you people to fire me. You're just that good. You're just that important to the company, Dan.
You know what I would say to Bongino? One, of course, we don't really care if he quits, but 2 words: Washington State. Let's make it 3. Washington State University.
We can move on to that story.
First major university to fire someone because they refused, and his assistants, they refused to get COVID vaccines. I guess all state workers in the state of Washington. That's Governor Jay Inslee, liberal.
They had until yesterday. Yesterday was their deadline.
Yeah, and he said no, and they said, okay, no way, you're gone. I think that is fantastic.
How much does the job pay? How much does the head coaching job at Washington State pay? How much money is this idiot walking away from, Brad?
I'm sure a lot, several million.
How about $3.2 million? Yeah. How about it was so important for him to make a huge statement about this vaccine that he says goodbye to a $3.2 million job.
That's a man of principle, and I'm sure that he'll have his phone ringing off the hook.
Oh my God! Yeah, Liberty University, line 1. Come on and be our coach, Mr. Rolovich. Come on down. Yeah. We'll just Jesus heal you. We'll lay hands on you.
Yeah. Now, I want to just try to circle around that story here with something that I read this morning, because again, you and I can sit here all day long and point out inconsistencies and hypocrisies and stupidities. And it was about 2 months ago that truly the flavor of the day for several days was the president of Hungary, Viktor Orban. He was held up as the model conservative, right-wing, authoritarian thug who would be acceptable in the United States if he ran here and his name wasn't Viktor Orban. There are people who say Donald Trump could have been Viktor Orban if he was a little bit more nimble, a little bit more clever, not quite so stupid. Orban is doing all the kinds of things in Hungary that the textbook says are the way authoritarians consolidate their power, remain in office. They crush the free press. They corrupt the judiciary. They corrupt law enforcement. They use immigration as a hammer against it, the way Trump did. But Orban really he really have a wall on their southern border. I think it's barbed wire and everything, so nobody gets in to Hungary, and they're proud of that. But this is the reason I'm bringing this up right now, because one of the things that Orban did apparently a couple months ago, like much of the world, they had a spike. Mm-hmm. They had a spike in COVID cases very, very quickly. It happened in a lot of places. And guess what Viktor Orban did? he put the hammer down. He said, God damn it, get your fucking vaccines, and you got to show papers, and you got to prove that you got it. All right. And guess what happened? It worked. It worked, of course. Now, so my question to all of the people who love them some Viktor Orban, who thought that Tucker Carlson hanging out with this guy, having dinner with him for a week and showing the world what a hard right authoritarian thug who has wormed his way into power and intends to stay that way and rule his country with an iron fist. What do you think of what Viktor Orban did to crush the virus? Okay, because that doesn't sound like freedom to me. We've got a lot of freedom working here resisting vaccine mandates. Okay, and I'm not bringing this up in the context of, okay, well, even Hitler was nice to his dog.
Right.
So, even Viktor Orban knew how to deal with coronavirus and decided that was the way to crush it. And this guy violates all other kinds of norms and is not Mr. Freedom anyway. But there is some kind of midpoint between being Viktor Orban and the anti-vax movement in the United States, which is preventing us from getting through this the way we should. There really, really is. But you don't get to choose off of a menu what you like about dictators around the world. They handle this well, they handle this well. But that one, no. What do the right wingers say about that? I hate that Viktor Orban did the right thing and told his countrymen, God damn it, get the vaccine so we can be safe and carry
simple.
on.
That story never makes it to right wing ears. That's swept under the rug. It's not covered by the outlets that they watch. That never happened. And I'm sure that what I'm about to show you didn't happen either. He received a booster shot as well. That's not going to be publicized at all. That won't be on Fox News. Yeah, he will. That's not going to happen. So
good get. And I want you to know that I read the original story. It's a long piece.
Yeah,
and it is in today's New York Times, and it's not the story that will get talked about much because it isn't breaking news. It's more of an analytic piece about that country, kind of a catch up to what we were hearing a few months ago, and that one little part caught my eye about what he did a few months ago when the surge happened in his country. And of course, he was correct. And I think what we have here now is just proof positive that mandates, from a technical standpoint, they work. When you make more people get vaccinated, the amount of virus circulating drops, fewer people get it, fewer people end up in the hospitals, and people are living longer than they otherwise might have. But you don't get credit for people who don't die. Have you noticed this?
yeah.
If someone doesn't catch coronavirus, well, you don't credit anybody. It's just blame when someone does. So at this moment, we have this, I don't know, it's a section of the country, it's a slice of the country. You can say it's a political movement, it's Trump inspired, it's anti-government whack job stuff, it's Fox News, it's that whole thing. But at the same time, as these people destroy themselves, they are hurting the country.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you get around that fact. And at the same time, places that have done better, which is almost everywhere in the world, have been tougher with vaccine mandates. The countries that have availability of the vaccine and tell everybody, God damn it, get it. And people just get it. And it's helpful. And it is frustrating. It's just beyond any kind of logic that I know you can't get your hands around. I can't either. And then the fucking Dennis Prager story is just that's way over the cliff.
Yeah,
that's way over the cliff. By the way, I'm surprised that they're not telling you that Colin Powell intentionally got it, also like Dennis Prager did, just so he could beat it. to show he was a tough guy. Yeah, I'm a cancer
Sure.
patient and I beat it, right?
But
To
I'm
make the
gonna
vaccine takers
let's
look
have a
bad.
COVID party.
Right.
Let's have a COVID party. I'll see if I can get this thing. Speaking of General Powell, everybody was very gracious
Oh, he's
about their
finally
tributes.
spoken. He's finally spoken.
This
Oh,
was what he
boy. Go
said.
ahead.
Tuesday's statement from Donald J. Trump Sr., the former president of these United States. Wonderful to see Colin Powell, who made big mistakes in Iraq and famously so-called weapons of mass destruction, be treated in death so beautifully by the fake news media. Hope that happens to me someday. He was a classic rhino, if even that, always being the first to attack other Republicans. He made plenty of mistakes, but anyway, may he rest in peace. The actual statement from Donald John Trump, who is now being ripped all over the place for being the little petty bitch that he absolutely 100% is, and will never be as beloved as Colin Powell is in life, death, or in any other state.
Right. Well, hang on. You really caught me with that one because I hadn't seen it because,
Yeah.
all morning yesterday and all day yesterday, I would keep Googling, Trump, Colin Powell. I was waiting for something, and there was nothing all day long. I mean, there was truly no.
You knew he couldn't say nothing. That's not an option. It's not an option with Donald Trump.
So I hadn't even thought about that on Tuesday morning. So you really hit me from left field with that. Fantastic. Yeah. It's fantastic because the depths that Trump will descend to, which of course, by the way, Dante said, I've run out of rings of hell.
Yeah, there's no more.
I ran out of those.
It would be impossible.
Time ago. I haven't read that book, forever, but I think isn't that what it is?
Yes, several. Yeah,
but this one, and there are hundreds of examples of no class and making it all about me, and this kind of combines everything into one bad, bitter, ugly, racist statement of bile by a guy who knows when he dies. He knows when he dies that there will be cue Martha and the Vandellas dancing in the streets, 1963, Motown Records, New Orleans, Detroit City, Philadelphia.
Covered ably by Van Halen with another big hit in the 70s. So they brought it back.
Sure. There you go. And you know what? He knows that. And he knows that he will never be held not only not in universal esteem, but I think he's doing his best. I think his goal is to get down to the point where the only people that will attend his funeral will be maybe his children. That's if they haven't ratted him out in some kind of court case, right? And they won't show up. And who else? Kellyanne? I don't know. None of those people have any association with him anymore either, I'm sure. But that statement is so bad. I mean, in other words, you could not write one, because sometimes I write fake Trump statements just for fun. I couldn't write that one. That one's too below the belt. That one's too low, isn't it?
Well, my objection yesterday, and it wasn't about Colin Powell. It was about how the Bush administration used him to sell the war. It wasn't his fault. I mean, and as you pointed out, a lifetime of service for this country, and one of the great missed opportunities as far as having him for president, for sure. I think anybody would say that. But
there's more. There's more to that, and the more to that is that he owned up to it.
He did,
and he didn't own up to it 20 years later. Okay,
no, he did not. He
owned up to it within a short amount of time, and he owned up to it on camera in interviews. You've seen the clips already. He said, "This is a black mark on my record. This does damage whatever it is." He said that. Now, I defy you to name me one Republican who's breathing right now who has even admitted they made a mistake, let alone when they do make a mistake, not immediately. Because remember what the Donald Trump version of doing something equivalent that Colin Powell did, which was being sent out there with bad information purposely to sell a lie. Did you see Colin Powell sitting there blaming everyone who did that? I didn't see that. I didn't see
No.
him pointing any fingers.
That's
I mean,
me. It's on me.
I'm sure. Yeah, he says it's on me. You know, you got to fact check your own shit before you. Okay, and so the guy fucking owned up to it.
Yeah.
He owned up to it. He admitted that he was wrong.
Well,
By the
that's
way,
what a man.
which is
That's what a
not a bad
man
thing.
does. That's what a man
Right.
does, and that's
There you go.
Donald Trump is not a man. Obviously, everything has always been Donald Trump's fault, and
Right.
he's able to tell his buddies. And again, this goes back to just a Republican mindset of aggrievement. Nothing is ever their fault. I can't get a job. Oh, it's because they're giving it to these black guys. They're giving it to these Hispanics. All these immigrants are getting in and getting the job. It can't be my fault. It's not anything in life that happens. It's not their fault. And Donald Trump gives them that license to say that. He's never lost an election. He's never done anything wrong. It's always been everybody's fault.
Right. Now, since it is 2 for Tuesday, here is
Sure.
the other statement, which in its own way is equal to or worse, because the pressure is building and they're going to vote in the committee in the House of Representatives tonight to throw the hammer down on Steve Bannon, and then the entire House will vote, and that'll be a party line vote, I assume. It shouldn't be. It should be 435 to none, but it won't be. But imagine, again, this is going to go on your permanent record, Republicans. You voted to not advance the indictment of Steve Bannon for contempt of Congress, for ignoring subpoenas. You let him off the hook for that. I guess they're going to do that, right? Because they don't want Trump to tweet about them, or he doesn't tweet, he sends out statements. But here's Trump's statement. He put this one out fucking today. Ready? Here it is. Again, you can't write one this ridiculous. The fake, highly partisan unselect committee. See, isn't that funny? Unselect committee, because it's called
Nobody thought of that but him. That's so funny.
Right. It continues to rock and roll. They were unable to make a deal with Kevin McCarthy to put real Republicans on the committee. No, that's not quite how it was. It wasn't they were unable to make a deal. No, okay, but all right. So they got stuck with low-polling warmonger Liz Cheney. No, that was her father. Okay.
Low-polling warmonger.
Right. Low-polling. And crying Adam Kinzinger. Now, you got to retire crying. Okay.
Is he crying? Is he crying?
It's been crying Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
It's been crying Nancy Pelosi. It's been crying Joe Biden. Everybody's crying.
Yeah.
It's a
I
crying
understand
shame.
this. It's too bad.
They have no idea what our party, capital P, stands for. Our party. Right. Now he's one of the,
Yeah.
This is just a continuation of the witch hunt, capital W, capital H, because it's, it is a proper term that needs to be capitalized, which started with the now fully debunked and discredited Russia scam. No, it hasn't.
No, it hasn't.
Quickly reverting to a perfect phone call with Ukraine. Ha ha ha. Impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, and now this. The Unselect Committee is composed of absolute political hacks who want to destroy the Republican Party and are decimating America itself. Britt, you notice this wrapping himself as a party man now. That's quite curious, isn't it?
Hasn't he been a Republican for like 10 minutes? Isn't that like a proven fact that he's actually been a Republican for like no time
he
at
never
all?
was. He really never has been one, but okay. And
Right.
He had to have a letter next to his name on the ballot. Now,
Well, let's put it this way: who more exemplifies the Republican Party? Would it be the late John McCain and late Colin Powell, or would it be Donald John Trump? Who exemplifies the Republican Party more? Just curious.
Well, I don't think you want to have that question in front of Republicans right now. I don't think you want to go there with that one now.
Yeah, no,
you might not get the answer that you want.
That's
All
correct.
right, now, do you remember that there was a moment while Trump was president where you remember these kind of things better than I do? Didn't he look up in the sky one time and pretend he was God, or God is telling me something?
It was at the eclipse or something. It was looking at the sun in the eclipse.
Yeah.
And then he called him.
Right.
He did say he was the chosen one. He called himself the chosen
That's it.
one.
That's what I want. That I knew it.
Yeah.
That's why I have you here, to remember shit that I don't remember.
Which by the way is a wrestling term. I believe the chosen one was what The Rock used back when he was wrestling.
Right. the last line of his statement evokes this kind of megalomania, like you just talked about. Here's the last line of this statement that I was reading. I am the only thing in their way. Capital letters, make America great again. I am the only thing in their way. It's a variation on only I can fix it. I am the God. I am the one. I am the protector. I am the person you need to look to. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. But one thing you have to give him credit for, he is consistently crazy. He's consistently a demagogue. He is consistently a liar. He is consistently the worst person in the world. I mean the fact that Colin Powell's dead and Trump is alive is just
that's another one. There's another one. I mean, good God,
it's just horrible.
So I get to heaven. I go, it's great to be here and everything. Just a couple of questions. Just kind of throw that one down. Why did you have to take Colin Powell before Donald Trump? Why did Donald Trump get to live, but Colin Powell? Why couldn't you give him a recovery from cancer? Because people from cancer do recover. And why did you have to kill him off with COVID? I'm just curious. Why couldn't Donald Trump, when he was sick, why couldn't you go ahead and just, get rid of him? Because he had a good shot there, I thought, God.
It's been a couple bad weeks for Southwest Airlines, as you know. They had that situation a couple weekends ago with thousands of flights canceled. I guess that's airline cancel culture.
I see what you did there.
Oh, yeah. Unique to them. I mean, and now they're doing something I'm a little bit surprised at. This is pretty dumb, I think. They have dropped their plans to put unvaccinated workers on unpaid leave in December. They told everybody that they needed to get their shots unless they had the medical or religious exemption. That would comply with new federal regulations. Of course, all airlines have, federal workers at airports loading, so that they have to go along with the federal government rules. And they said on Monday they would require their employees to all be vaccinated. This is on Monday. This was yesterday as we speak. The next day, today, Tuesday, they backed down. Yeah. It took less than a day to throw the towel. What is that?
I don't know.
They're giving up.
All I know is it's going to be Joe Biden's fault that I can't get a flight to Denver. That's all I can tell you. That's what
is that about?
I don't know. I don't know how Southwest, you don't.
By the way, they are based in Dallas. Based in Dallas.
But they've been right along with the mandate, as you say, up until the last 24 hours. They've been right on board with it, and they've been like, but now they're backing down, and I can't figure out. That story has yet to be played out per se. I mean, I think we're still in the opening innings of all that.
It's a new one. It's fairly new. So there needs to be some, I hate this phrase, some meat on the bones to the story.
I'm looking at this story that people are hoarding because of the supply chain. Now, do you think this is a real political problem for Joe Biden, is the supply chain stuff? I saw one of our local stations, and they're doing a Christmas shopping thing, right? And I'm like, well, it's not even November. But I think because there are people that are afraid that their Christmas gifts are not going to get here.
Right.
Because of this supply thing. So you got to do this. And right. Like if Grandpa's on the ventilator, Grandpa, hang on for another 90 days so your Christmas present can get here in August, right? Is that what's going on?
Well, no. Look, if you want to be, remember, as you know, I am the number one expert on Christmas. I'm
yes,
your go-to guy.
You're the man, Mr. Christmas, Brad Kranz.
Right. And if a politician or the president or anybody were to dare bring up that maybe this year shouldn't be quite as materialistic and dependent on getting the latest doodad,
forget it.
Right? You're done. It's over.
Whatever Apple rolled out yesterday, I got to have 7 of those. More earbuds, more of the new MacBook. I got to have all of the Apple things, and they better be here by goddamn December 25th or it's all over.
Right. So I saw the number that I saw yesterday was there are a total right now of 200,000 or so of those, truck size containers on the ships. You add them all up, it's about 200,000. Well, that's a lot of stuff. That's like, just about everything that's being made in Vietnam and China and Taiwan and Japan, all those places. So they can't unload. It's all sitting there. And in order to stoke the it's Joe Biden's fault aspect of it, again, I take these bullets so you don't have to. I watched Fox for 90 seconds this morning.
Oh, God.
And what was their story? And I swear but they present this as if this is the straw that's breaking the supply chain camel's back. Port of Savannah.
Yeah, I saw this. Yeah,
has supply chain, and so here are the numbers off the port of Savannah, which I can guarantee you is tiny compared to Los Angeles or Long Beach or
but
New York.
It's still an important port. It's still a big port.
All right,
it's not as huge as the other.
There were about 28 or 29 ships off the offshore. And they were fixing the problem, and they expected to have it down into the teens or maybe the single digits in a few days. So it's not really a bad story. It's a things can get better story.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't quite present it that way because they throw in the fact there at the very end. And, of course, it's the graphic at the bottom of the screen that is designed to scare people or people who are in a bar just watching the bottom of the screen. They don't hear anything.
It's from the Savannah paper. The Georgia Ports Director says Port of Savannah not at a standstill, despite what you assholes are reading and hearing on Fox News. Yeah. Not at a standstill. Yeah, we've got some stuff to work through, but yeah. Well, they just try to. There's just a pile of shit that they're trying to throw at Joe Biden as to the general malaise. We got a supply thing. Obviously, the COVID, the Delta thing was bad. So Joe Biden was ineffective at protecting us against COVID-19. And then gas prices are going up, and it's just a big ball of shit that they try to pin on him, essentially.
But you know what? Maybe I'm missing this. I don't see Joe Biden out there whining about this.
Of course he doesn't. He's not a whiner.
I don't see him just completely saying, I don't own any of this. It's not my fault. This happened. Trump did this to me. Now there's a little of that. There's always a little, but not in the way that we are used to, say, the previous president blaming everything on Obama left the cupboard bare. Right? He's all that
it's the fake media. Everybody's against me. They hate me. They're trying to make me look bad.
And what was Donald Trump's number one measuring stick for how well he was doing? What was it? It was called a little thing, as Trump used to say, like you've never heard. Right. He'd go, there's something, a little thing. It's called the stock market. Right. He would say it that way, as if you've never heard of it. And
so when the stock market started hitting the shitter back in 2020, when the COVID was people having to stay at home, and they, we had all the hoarding with the toilet paper.
It didn't matter.
You didn't talk about that so much. We didn't get the daily scoreboard updates from Wall Street.
Right. And of course, day to day, it means nothing. But the fact of the matter is, right now, at this moment, the stock market is doing fantastic. There are a lot of different reasons for that. Mm-hmm. And naturally, nothing's going to last, and there will be corrections and bounce around. But according to Donald Trump, your 401k was going to zero. Remember that? It was going to zero.
It's big, and also the Democrats have been seizing it for about 20 years too. That's another thing that's been happening. In addition to it going to zero.
But there's the only reason I'm bringing up the stock market, and it's not about me here, but I think that in general, the verdict that the financial markets are giving any prospective deal that will be a production of the Democratic Party only, right? Republicans are not joining in on this at all. No matter what the size is, no matter whether it's smaller, $1 trillion, or higher, the markets are saying right now, we're cool with that. And you know why I think the markets are saying we're cool with that? Because investors and sophisticated people And I'm not saying that much of America is stupid and can't understand economics and can't count and doesn't want any detail of any fucking thing. They just want, give me the number. Is it 3 trillion? That's too much. Mitch McConnell says it's going to give inflation. So, okay.
Right.
I'm not saying that most of America is that way, but they are.
Mhm.
But the sophisticated people with the money who decide where it moves and what gets invested in and what gets sold are saying, guess what? We can count. And we know that even at the upper end of 3.5 trillion over 10 years, if it were to be that way, that's only $350 billion a year. This economy is huge. It's well north of $20 trillion. So 350 billion is not going to bust any budget. It's not going to cause inflation. That's not the cause of economic problems down the road.
And I would also, I think the
Right.
question needs to be asked, Joe Manchin, how much is too much money? How much are we spending that's too much
Right.
for you just to swallow?
Well, but see, he's been really political about it. But the
Of course he
people
is.
with money who decide day to day, they're not being political about it.
No.
They know in their hearts that if the country decides that we're going to tackle climate change and pre-kindergarten education, and we're going to fix the infrastructure, and we're going to do all these things at, let's put it up at 400 billion a year, which actually, when you think about it, is not even that much money spread out over 50 states over a bunch of different programs, even at the highest end. It's not that much money.
Right.
It isn't. And so it does not threaten the economy going forward. It's likely to be a big boost because guess what? If we start building things again and fixing roads and doing all those kinds of construction projects and things of that sort, and women are able to get back into the workforce to start maybe taking some of the jobs that are sitting there empty and can't seem to find anybody, not because Joe Biden is giving them free money out of a helicopter, but because they can't get child care because it doesn't exist in this country, because we don't have any commitment to it like the European countries do that allocate on average, I guess, $10,000 or $12,000 a year per family. And we allocate all of, I believe, 500. I didn't even know we did 500. That sounds like more than I thought, but that's the number. That's about the number. So it hasn't been a priority to us. And Joe Manchin, the argument, of course, I find this thrillingly, interestingly accurate between Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin, that Joe Manchin says he just doesn't want to create an entitlement society. And Bernie Sanders' answer, and by the way, I would not want to ever be in a debate with Bernie Sanders. That fucking guy. And he's pushing 80. Imagine how it would have been to argue with him when he was 40. Okay.
Oh,
the guy's brutal. But he said, so Joe Manchin, do you think it's an entitlement for children to grow up in a country where the air is clean to breathe, where the water is clean to drink, where the roads are not potholed and you're not going to get into an accident and die? Is that an entitlement society, Joe? I mean, he asked it.
Well, they need clean water in West Virginia to wash down the OxyContin. So that's what that's what has to happen. By the way, have you seen Dope Sick? Have you seen Dope Sick on Hulu? The Michael Keaton project.
No.
It's about the Sackler family and all. It's very, very good.
I know.
But I understand that Joe
Manchin.
I understand that Joe Manchin has to protect the West Virginia economy by making sure that they mine coal forever. 5,000 years from now, we need to make sure that we have a coal-based economy, and by God, West Virginia. I understand all of that.
Yeah, and by the way, West Virginia's economy is no more coal-based these days.
Exactly.
Then North Carolina's economy is tobacco-based.
100% correct.
That's how far down coal has deteriorated, and so it's almost a myth. In fact, it is a myth. It's like Joe Manchin is living in 1972.
He's got to placate the dumbass. He has to placate the dumbasses. That's what he has to do, and that's what this is.
Guess what?
By God, we can't have none of that.
Not going to happen.
Add to the giant ball of shit they're throwing against Joe Biden. Oh my God. Little Lord Fauntleroy down there in North Korea has fired off possibly a missile into the waters of Japan. So once again, Donald Trump had that guy under control, and now Joe Biden's just letting him run wild, Brad. That's what your family is not safe.
Britt, why are you ignoring the formerly large but not quite so large elephant in the room anymore? That guy took off weight. He slimmed down.
Yeah.
I think he's on that Noom program.
Is he? He's on Noom.
I think he did that. He looks great.
I did finish.
He's got a new haircut, right?
Oh yeah, he's a stud. He's out there. He's getting more leg than the coach down at LSU who's getting fired. Have you read the Ed Orgeron stories about all the cat burden he's been doing down in Louisiana?
Yes. Yes.
And finally, we finish with something that is too stupid for us to talk about on the Lindsey Graham telling Jeanine Pirro that immigrants are coming over the U.S. border with upscale luggage. Border agents are acting as hotel clerks for well-off Brazilians. Yeah, they're showing up with Louis Vuittons, Brad. And apparently this is Lindsey Graham can spot a Louis Vuitton case a mile away.
That's the most idiotic statement about immigrants since the famous Steve King. They have calves the size of cantaloupes. Remember that one?
I do remember that one.
Yeah, wait, can I throw in one more?
Sure.
And I was headlining this. Auburn football coach comes out of the closet.
Oh.
Tommy Tuberville.
Oh no.
Hid in a closet on January 6th with a dozen other Republicans. They were hiding in a closet, and while they were all there saying their prayers, some of them were questioning whether they ought to still go through with the plan to object to the counting of the electors in states that Joe Biden won, because that was their plan.
Did Tuberville eventually tap out? I think Tuberville tapped out.
No, he did not.
He did not. I know that there was a story
minds,
there was a story that Joe Manchin was hanging out with a couple of those guys, and he goes to him, "All right, are you good?" And they were like, "Yeah, we're out." But people like Josh Hawley was like, "Oh no, I'm still fuck you. I'm still 100%. I don't care if they come through there and they they put a grenade launcher through that door. I'm fucking gonna I'm going against these results." So Tuberville still hung on for the win, huh?
Yeah, he says one thing that was brought up, but people were hurt. Biden was going to end up president, whether they objected or not. And here's what Tuberville said: the voice of reason? No, not quite. No. Do we want to continue this? He remembered his colleagues saying, if there's not going to be a result that we're looking for anyway, some Republican senators did change their minds, but Tommy's vote, never in question. He stuck with the play and formally objected to certifying the Electoral College votes in Arizona and Pennsylvania. And you know what, Britt? When you're coming in with a good game plan and you know it's good, you don't let anything knock you off your pedestal.
Run that ball on fourth down. Don't kick that field goal. You go in, son, and you go in hot.
Right. And Tuberville says the reason that he did it is because the people of Alabama, they wanted him to do that. And
hear me out, he's an asshole. I'm gonna offer that alternate explanation as to why he did it. And by the way, he's carrying on the great tradition of the great Jefferson Davis, who, when the Northern troops were surrounding him, hid away and allegedly put a woman's dress on to try to fool them so he could try to get away from the Northern troops that had surrounded him. So there's Tommy Tuberville in the closet from the marauding hordes in the Capitol, which, of course, were sent by Donald Trump, you dumb shit, who you're trying to protect.
Boy, can two things be true at the same time?
Oh, I mean, he can be an asshole. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. That'll do it for us. Halfway through. We'll see you on Wednesday.